The following podcast is taken from a live broadcast on Inspire FM.
Good morning and Assalamu alaikum. You are tuned into Inspire FM 105.1 FM. It's Friday, 3rd of November, and the time has now just gone 10 o'clock. Welcome to Mother's Planet, a show where there is always something to talk about in a productive and beneficial way. I'm your host, Neelum, and today I'll be talking to you about dealing with the winter blues. Now, this week has been quite a crazy week. We've had the clocks change, we've had the kids going back to school, and we've had a bit of a roller coaster with the weather as well, with quite torrential rains in the evening. So it's been quite a crazy week, and the kids being back at school. I know the half term felt like it was very short-lived. It's a bit of an odd half term, I always think, because it's a much needed half term. I think that the term after September, we have like 7 weeks of school, and the kids just need, their bodies are shutting down slowly, so they need that break. So we're spending most of that half term recharging our batteries and recovering from any of the brewing illnesses. I know I had a few that were at home poorly, and I still have some that are at home poorly. I've had my husband who's been quite unwell, and I did think it was man flu, but he actually genuinely wasn't well. So yeah, it was quite difficult because I had to do everything. So I was juggling school runs, after school clubs, keeping on top of the house stuff. It was mad, but alhamdulillah, he's a bit recovered today, and he was able to help. So ladies, we should really appreciate our spouses, because I'm very grateful that he's back on track, because I kind of needed the help, and so I'm glad that he's there. So it's nice to be able to not have to do so much. So this morning was a bit of a break for me, where I didn't have to do so many school runs, and he stepped in and took charge. So alhamdulillah. And yes, we are grateful. And yeah, as I said, the kids having half term, brewing illnesses, it was really hard to have any fun. The weather wasn't great, so it's not been nice. And then strangely enough, on the weekend, we had the clock change, and then back to school on Monday. So I don't know how you feel about the clock change and if it does affect your routine. But for me, I think the clock change bizarrely puts my body into exhaustion. I'm actually really tired, even though everything's happening so much faster during the day. But I'm by 8 o'clock yawning, and my body needs to just sleep. So I'm keen to hear how you listeners are finding that. How, if at all, the clock change has affected you. Has it affected you, or have you functioned better? The darker days is making me feel tired. I think when it's summer and it's still bright at 8 o'clock, you subconsciously feel energized. But to look outside at 8 o'clock and it being pitch black, it's quite hard to feel energized. So I would like to hear from you listeners how you are finding the clock changes, the kids going back to school, how your routine has been. So listeners, we are live on air, reaching out to all our listeners in Luton and surrounding areas through the airwaves at Inspire FM 105.1 FM. You can also connect through TuneIn via Inspire FM webpage, and also listen in on your smartphones via the Inspire FM app. We are also streaming live on the Facebook page, where you must give a thumbs up to the show, and you can leave any comments around today's topic. So lots of platforms available to all the listeners today, so there is actually no excuse for you to miss the show. And I am also taking in WhatsApp and text messages on the studio number 07779 481 822. So you can send in any messages that you have. And I'd love to hear how people are finding the clock change and how their week has been adjusting to kids being back at school. Now, in today's show, I wanted to talk about dealing with the winter blues. With the clock change and us officially bidding farewell to the summer and welcoming the winter, we have now shorter hours of daylight, and this can make many of us feel quite down. Research has shown that winter is also not only just quite depressive because of the darkness, it's also quite an expensive time because people need to keep their cupboards stocked up well for those colder or wet days where it's difficult to get out. And most importantly, we are turning the heating up, so we are trying to keep the houses warm, and this all comes at a cost, and many struggle to make ends meet. So it's quite a difficult time. And so firstly, I wanted to actually delve into winter blues, and this is also known as SAD, which is seasonal affective disorder. So they are linked, and they both go in together. So SAD and winter blues are both the same thing, and it's when people get depressed in the winter months, and it's often due to the less daylight hours we are having, and this can cause a shift in the way people feel. So not having that bright sunlight that we had over the summer, and gradually now moving over to, and we're sensing this when we are following our Salah times, for example. Now Fajr in the morning, sunrise is much later than what it was before. So, we have that flexibility of having a little bit more of a lie-in and praying our Fajr a bit later. But by 6:30, 7 o'clock, we are done with Isha. That's all 5 Salahs done. And so, and they are much closer, especially Zuhr and Asr, which I used to be able to read one before doing a school run and then going and doing the school run and coming back and reading the other. And now I'm having to read Dhuhr and Asr and then go and get the kids and rush back for Maghrib. So yes, there's that change there as well. So we can feel that the light hours is less, and we can sense it. So what are the symptoms and signs of winter blues or SAD? It's feeling down, depressed, and this is most of the day, every day. So when you are just feeling so down and not able to do much, you've lost your interest in activities once that you once enjoyed, having problems with sleep, feeling sluggish and agitated, and low energy and motivation, change in your appetite and weight. So this could be either an increased appetite, and one thing I found really interesting was people crave more carbs, and I think it's the whole concept of comfort eating, because you have less things to do, so you will just end up eating more, and people are eating carbs because it's more satisfying. So yes, there's a change in appetite and weight. And the big one is social withdrawal, not wanting to meet others. Now, many of you must have heard these symptoms, and alarm bells must be going off, but fear not, these are just seasonal symptoms. And there is a lot that we can do to help ourselves relieve this and not struggle or let ourselves be weighed down through the whole of winter. And I just want to share with listeners that everything that I am sharing is taken from the NHS website, where you can go on there and they will explain in detail what SAD or winter blues is, and also have ways that you can contact the official health services if you need any further assistance. What I'm sharing with you today is personal experiences, research that I have done, and things that people have shared with me that they've done to help overcome winter blues. So if you do feel that you need you have a severe tendency in any of these mentioned symptoms, please do seek medical advice or help. Anything that I am sharing is personal experience or just research that I have collected. So what can we do? Now, I have put down quite a huge list of, I've actually got 10 points, but they are 10 very deep points about what we can do to help alleviate the symptoms of winter blues. So the first one is to maximise natural light exposure. Now, research has shown that a lack of light is often the reason or cause why people feel down or anxious. So it's therefore important to make sure that we are making use of the natural light that we have access to during the day. So one of them would be starting our day early and catching as much possible daylight as possible. So do open your curtains and blinds and let natural light come in during the day. Move your workspace near a window to absorb natural daylight. So, if you've got anything that's obstructing any light, that natural light that is coming through, shift them around, move them around. Sitting near a window is always a good idea as well. Spend more time outside, so you can get gardening, go for a walk. Even on the cloudy days, natural sunlight will help regulate the body's internal clock and can positively impact the mood. Now, listeners, if you have just tuned in this morning, I am talking about winter blues, SAD, which is known as seasonal affected syndrome. Seasonal affected syndrome. Yeah, well, I've got to get it right. Seasonal affective disorder. Get it right myself. Seasonal affective disorder, SAD, and winter blues. I am talking about that this morning. So if you have just tuned in, and I have asked the question about how everyone's got on with the clock changes. So if anyone would like to share that with me this morning, please feel free on the studio number 07779 481 822. I am taking in WhatsApp and text messages on the show today. So maximum light exposure, we've talked about opening your curtains, sitting near the window, taking outdoor activities such as walking or doing some gardening. Try mindful activities in the daytime outside in the fresh air. And this could be something like yoga, meditation, sitting outside in the garden and reading a book. If you don't want to go outside, sit near a window, try and absorb that natural light. And yes, on wet days, which is what we've had a lot of this week, sit indoors near a window and listen to the rain. It's actually known to be quite therapeutic, listening to the rain. You could try and do a word search and a crossword, and just taking that time out to just really absorb your atmosphere and your environment and the light. And try to get at least 30 minutes of natural light exposure during the day. So don't stay cooped up at home. It's quite easily done because everyone feels that the time is short. So I've got to get X, Y, Z done. Put that all on hold and make sure you've gone out and had at least that time outside, given your body what it deserves. So do go out and take that natural light as much as possible. The second point that I've got here is staying active. Now, it's very easy to take a back seat in the winter. The body wants to naturally hibernate and take things easy. But being active is important, and being active all year round is paramount. So we need to make sure that we are doing things where we are being mobile and staying active. So engage in regular physical activity, a short walk around the block, and take that time out. In that, you're killing two birds with one stone. You've also absorbed a bit of natural light exposure, and you've also done some activity or physical exercise where you've gone out and gone for that walk, and so you've killed two birds with one stone there. Exercise also helps in boost endorphins, and again can help improve energy, mood, and energy levels and your mood. So it's important that you try and keep up with this. I can vouch for that because I've stuck to it. I have had days where I'm thinking, it's cold, it's wet. Do I really need to get up and do anything? And the kids have even said, "Oh, Mum, just leave it today." And I'm like, "No, I need to do this because I need to do it for me." And so I will get up and I'll just go out in the garden. And as everyone that knows me well knows that I love my skipping. So I do. I just get on with my skipping and do what I can do. So I am being persistent with it. And I do find that I feel a bit more energized because I do it first thing in the morning. I do feel much more energized and charged for the day, and I can just crack on with things. And it doesn't make me feel sluggish. Especially when you wake up in the morning because it's cold and you've got a warm bed. It's quite hard to try and fight that battle of I need to get up and just give myself that shot of cold air and get up And so once you've done that, and then you've done some exercise, you've charged yourself, you're ready to tackle the day in any shape or form. So it's important that we do that. The third point is establishing a routine. Now, the time can throw everything out of routine. The time change for me, it's bizarre because we're going back an hour, so everyone's like, but you're gaining an hour, but I don't feel like I am, because everything's shifted back by an hour, so you have to now work accordingly. So I just still feel like my day's not enough. I don't have enough things that I can tick off and get done. So it's really important that we structure our day and be organised. And you can do this by setting yourself daily or weekly goals. So things that you need to have done for the day, set it at the beginning of the day, that by the end of the day I need to feel X, Y, Z, and give yourself that sense of purpose. And write these down. Write down a checklist of things that need to be done. Establish a good morning routine. Now, as I said, rain, sunshine, whatever the weather, I will get up and I will be persistent with my routine of I need to just do some stretches and I need to do some exercise. I need to charge my body, and I will do that. And I think it's really important that we have this routine in place and we don't let anything hinder it. So you don't have to be someone like me that likes skipping. You can just do some stretches, do some yoga, anything that energizes you to help you kickstart your day. Prioritize tasks on a checklist, so rank them in numbers so you know what's important and what needs doing first. These can then get done quickly as well. Now, limit distractions. This is probably one of the harder ones, because every time that phone pings and you're in the middle of doing something and you're trying to establish which one is more important, you need to just put yourself aside and say, right, I need to just get on with this and it needs to get done, and that's it. So you just crack on with things rather than getting distracted, because it will be there and you can come back to it at some point. So there's no rush in doing that. So it's really important that we do that. Ensure you are praying your salah on time, because as I said earlier, they are much closer now. And so don't be like myself and don't procrastinate and delay your salah, because before you know it, the next one will enter. So get into the routine of praying your salah on time, and not delaying those. Establish an evening routine as well, and that helps you wind down for a good night's sleep. And this can be reading a book, or spending time with the family, doing something that will help you transition to a more relaxed state before you go into bed. So, you can play perhaps a small little board game with the children just before we wind down into bed, or, one that the kids like is take out a storybook that they can all enjoy, and yourself. It's good. I know friends are trying to get through the seerah and get their children to understand the seerah, and we're trying to implement this as well. As a family, recapturing it and understanding the seerah and reconnecting with the sunnah as well. So it's really nice to have that time and use that space to allow children to ask questions. Because as adults, we often think that we could be suffering from sad, but actually there's a lot of children that, it shakes them up. Their routine's gone out the window, their bedtime routine, the routine they had for dinner. And especially for the young children who come back from school and it's dark, and so they can't go out in the garden and kick a ball around like they did in the summer. So they've got this energy, and that needs to be dealt with, and you need to do something for those children as well. So do look out for these signs and symptoms with children as well, because it's not just adults that struggle. Their children are known to have this as well, and it's actually quite common in children. And especially not being able to release that energy. So just think of some activities as a family that they perhaps would like to do as an alternative, and you can make it a thing, saying that this is something that we do in the summer, where we are outside in the garden, enjoying the garden. And now, because it's winter and it's dark, we're going to be indoors, but we've got this activities, and these are the things that we will enjoy indoors. And there's a numerous amount of things. You can do Lego. My family favourite is always playing a game of Scrabble. We always like to come up with some interesting words. And it's quite challenging as well. So we do Scrabble. You've got Lego. You've got, Guess Who. I think it's one of those ones where you have to stick some animal name on your forehead and you just ask several questions and you can only say yes or no about what this animal is or who am I. There's different versions out there for it, but there's loads of things that you can do. The important thing is to engage as a family and not shut children out and just think I need to get things done. It's teamwork. That's what we need. We need teamwork. We need all the kids to come on board and them all to take part in these things, and not for us to just take charge and say, right, we've got to do everything. Delegate the work, get them all, have your little soldiers running around the house doing everything, and don't do everything on your own, making them feel part. If they know that if we get X, Y, Z done, we're going to end up playing a game or we're going to have some family time, you'll be surprised how quickly things get done. So do get the children involved. The next one is mindfulness and relaxation. Now, being in tune with your body and listening to its needs is very important. Don't overdo it. And when your body is slowly giving in, just stop and say to yourself, I'm taking this time out now because my body's giving in. We have to remember in the winter, our body is adjusting to the climate. We are in a nice, cozy, warm home, and then we are entering outside where it's wet, rainy, windy, and so our bodies are climatizing to the changes that we are putting it into. So we have to remember that it's not easy. And I think people underestimate how difficult school runs can be, getting up and getting the kids ready and going to school and then coming back and then functioning. It takes a lot of energy doing that. So, wrap up. And listen to your body when it says it's had enough. Stop and have that cup of tea and make sure you are taking that time out for yourself. As I said, we need to maximize as much as possible of the daylight hours, and also the fact that it's getting darker quickly, the fact that we are having Isha Salah completed by 6:30, 7 o'clock. It's you have the rest of the evening, so try and get an early night and make the most of getting the longer hours of sleep. So the optimum hours of sleep is between 7 and 9 hours, so it'd be really nice. I can't recall the last time I got 7 or 9 hours on the trot sleep, but we should try and do that in this time. Try and make the most of this. Practice relaxation techniques such as deep breathing, doing your dhikr, and doing dhikr actually helps relaxing yourselves. My watch reads my heart rate, and it tells me what my beats are per minute. And I've noticed that once I've read my salah and I sit down and I do some dhikr, the heart rate drops and I can feel my body automatically relaxing, and I'm in a more relaxed and calm state. So alhamdulillah, dhikr is very good. So we should try and take time out to do that and giving our body that. Avoid those things that trigger off any tension and anxiety. Now, I know we are in recent times facing horrific weather across the country. So when we turn on the news, it's telling us about different names of different storms across the country, and seeing some of the pictures of people being affected by the storms and the winds, and also the destruction that's happening on a global level. It's really hard to watch the news, and there is nothing positive and there is nothing that's going to be uplifting. So we have to make that choice of just turning these things off and taking time out from being involved in these things, because we have to remember that these things cannot stress us, because these worries are something that's out of our control. It's not something that we can control or fix. So by watching the news and reading all these news headlines that are causing us more stress and anxiety and anger and rage, it's out of our hands, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the best of planners and deciders, and we should just have strong faith and iman and be hopeful that things will get better. and engage in much more soothing activities that will help relax our minds. So turning off social media and news may be a good idea if you feel that these things are causing you some form of anxiety and agitation. I find that painting is quite relaxing. I've actually invested in a few number painting canvases, and I did one over half term actually, and it's up on my wall. It's added to my collection of other number paintings that I've done, but I found that it's very relaxing. It can get quite tedious because the numbers are so small and you have to mix colours, but once you're in it, and you can make the picture the way you want to make the picture. So I highly recommend number painting. So if you want a relaxation activity or hobby, I would start that. I have framed mine and put them up on the wall. And treat yourself, have something to look forward to. This could be getting together as a family or an outing. Have something that you can look forward to or you have planned. Now, listeners, we are now going over to a short commercial break. I will continue with these points after the break. I hope you have found them useful so far. But for now, go refill your hot drink, cold drink, whatever it is that you're having with me this morning, and join me after a short commercial break. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, this is Atif Nawaz. Listen to Inspire FM shows in your time by heading over to inspirefm.org or listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
Good morning and Assalamu alaikum. You are tuned into Inspire FM 105.1 FM. Welcome back to Mother's Planet. I'm your host Neelum. It's Friday 3rd of November and the time has now just gone 10:30. Now, earlier in the show I was mentioning winter blues, sad seasonal affective disorder. I've got it right this time round. And we were talking about some of the signs and symptoms around this and what we can do to help this. So I've given some tips already around this. If you have just tuned in, the tips that I've shared so far were to maximize natural light exposure, staying active, establish a routine, and mindfulness and relaxation. So if you have just tuned in, I am taking WhatsApp and text messages on the studio number 07779 481 822. Please do share in any comments and views that you have around today's topic. I did say at the last point that I found that number painting has been quite relaxing. So if you are looking for mindfulness and relaxation techniques, painting, I recommend number painting, highly recommend it. Now the next one is maintaining a healthy diet. Now it's important that we do this because, as I said earlier in the show at the very beginning, that winter makes us crave more carbs because it leads to comfort feeding, and we are comfort eating to just buy ourselves some time. So it's a bad habit and it's quite easy to fall into, where because everything is done and dusted with by 7 o'clock in the evening, you've had your dinner, you've got longer time now to just have sweets and desserts and carby things. So it's very important that we are not delving into or indulging into that, and we are trying to keep a balanced diet. So consume a variety of fruits. Now, fruits and vegetables is interesting because it's really easy to have these in the summer because it's so hot. You don't want to have anything but fruit. And so come winter, we shut away from them. So there are different fruits that are nicer in the winter and should be eaten in the winter. And this is things like kiwis and oranges, big oranges, sliced oranges, satsumas, clementines, any type of orange, because these are all high in vitamin C. And again, something our body needs during the winter to help us protect ourselves. So it's also that time of year where hot soups is perfect to have. So get experimental with your vegetables and make some soup. My favourite winter soup is mushroom soup. I really like making mushroom soup because it has that nutty texture to it, which almost feels a bit meaty, and it's also quite versatile. So it's one of those ones that you can eat on on its own, or you can have with chicken or meat, or it can be mixed with any other vegetable as well. Mushrooms also are very good because they contain vitamin D's, and that's another thing that we need because we have a lack of natural vitamin D in the winter. Mushrooms are known to have a slight amount of vitamin D, so consuming these is quite good. And it's dead easy to make mushroom soup, so you can Google this, you can look this up, and you can see how simple it is to make. So if you're really struggling, you can make this. My neighbour actually makes batches of soups in different types of vegetables. One of her favourite ones was pumpkins, which was quite easy to buy this time during this time of year. And she freezes them. She cooks them in batch, and she just pots them, cools them down, pots them, and freezes them. And whenever she feels like some soup, she'll just take some out from the freezer and have that. So if you're again a very busy person, you don't have the time, but you fancy some soup, batch cook on a weekend and freeze them, and then take them as and when you need them. Limit sugary and processed foods. It's really easy to start having those biscuits in the evening with your cup of tea, but this can lead to energy crashes and affect your mood. So try to have not too much, and maybe make some traditional desserts, homemade ones, and have them, hack away at them. My favourite one is semolina halwa. So we do have that in the winter. It's quite a nice one to have as well. And a little bit goes a long way. So if you just have a little bit of that, it'll keep you going for a bit longer. So just you have to discipline yourself. It's all about disciplining yourself and not letting your body be taken over by the cravings. Make sure you are keeping hydrated. Now, this is something I have to keep banging on about with my children, because I send their water bottles in the winter and they come back as full as they were as they went in the morning. So they are not drinking water, and it's really important. And you'd be surprised as to how much our body actually needs water in the winter as well. So we need to keep ourselves hydrated and keep drinking water. So keep those bottles filled, refilled and consumed. So don't let those bottles just stay as they are. And drink your water throughout your day. It will also curb those little hunger cravings as well, because often we mistake hunger for thirst. So if you are drinking water, you are curbing those hunger pangs as well, where you think you're hungry but you're actually thirsty. With the shorter days, it's also a really good idea to try fasting. I've got quite a lot to make up, so I'm making a note to this to myself. Someone like myself, who has a lot of fast to make up, I need to try and make the most of the winter months where it is much shorter, and where Maghrib is entering around 4 o'clock and Fajr is by 6. So we are fasting for a lot shorter time. So any fast that you do have to make up, it's a really good time to try and get into the practice and habit of keeping those fasts in the winter. And also, there is evidence to show that fasting has helped anyone that suffers with any form of anxiety or anger. Fasting sort of disciplines them. It does help with this as well. So if you feel that you need to curb that, or you need to try and control that, try fasting. Inshallah, it will be one of the ways of controlling our moods. The next point is vitamin D supplements. Now, vitamin D, as mentioned from the mushrooms, is essential for mood regulation, and many people experience a deficiency of this in the winter because of the lack of light that we have outside. So taking supplements can compensate for this lack of sunlight and aid in mood regulation. But again, always consult a healthcare professional when taking any supplements that may conflict with your current medication. It's just an advice. If there are medication that you are taking that vitamin D could affect, please do check with a healthcare professional. It's quite hard to find vitamin D in high amounts in our foods, but there are a few that I did manage to research and see that what quantities foods what foods have good quantities of vitamin D, and things like egg yolks, fatty fish, mushrooms, these all provide a small level of vitamin D to the body. So consuming these or introducing these to your diet is a good idea. And the next point is social interaction. Now, this is when people just don't fancy going out or meeting up with people in the winter months. Too cold, I don't want to go out. It's really important to stay connected with family and friends. So social interaction can help combat feeling of isolation and boost the mood. So plan social meetings during the day. So try and maximize the use of the natural light. And this can be things like brunches, walks, or doing an outdoor sport together. And these all include the benefit of having the sun and while engaging socially. So again, you are killing two birds with one stone. Stay connected virtually if going out is something that doesn't suit you. Now, if anything we've taken from the pandemic, we've all become very tech savvy, especially on the virtual platform where we can talk via so many different platforms virtually on video calls. So if you don't fancy going out or you don't want to meet up in certain places, do it from the comfort of your home. Arrange for a video call, speak to friends, and it could be friends abroad, but do stay connected and have that conversation and connect with the family or your friends. It's very important. Invite friends to your home. So these can be friends that are understanding of the fact that I don't like going out, don't want to go out, but let's all get together in my house. And so you can just host a small gathering or a movie night, something to allow you all to maintain a small social connection in the comfort of your own home. And again, you are conversating with other people and you are having that social connection. And be kind to yourself. It's okay to decline invitations and take breaks. So self-care is much needed, and you time is also much needed. So if you just cannot go out, don't be afraid to say no. Don't shut the world out, but because they also care, and it's important that we have that connection. But it's also to find that middle ground and that balance of I need to take some time out and I need to do something for me. So find the balance and do things that suit you and your needs. The next one is lighten up your environment. And this, as I said, is we are lacking natural light from outside. So what can we do? We can try and make the inside environment nicer. So this is your inside your homes, inside your offices, things that you can do to try and make things brighter. So you can paint a wall bright, start painting your home bright, refreshing that paint. It's always hard because it's winter and things take forever to dry. So maybe just pick a wall and just paint the wall a colour that's a brighter colour, or do a picture collage. So, you don't necessarily have to get the paints out here. You can just make a collage on the wall or put pictures up that seem a bit more appealing to the eyes and seem a bit more nicer to the eyes. Change the pictures that you have. Declutter and revamp your home in a more relaxed and cozy winter feeling. So bring the outdoors inside. So change the spectrum of your light bulbs to give a brighter and warmer feeling inside the house. Now, when we are looking at lightening up our environment, we are also controlling our senses, and these are the touch, the smell, and the visual sense. So these all have a part to play in this, where we are controlling our environment. So have nice smells in the house, light some nice candles, put some bahur around the house, and give the house that nice aroma, that comfortable feeling as well. And bring out those thick blankets. So the warm blankets that we've hidden away or vacuum packed away in the summer where we just couldn't look at them because it was too hot. It's time to bring them down and add them to your sofas, give a cozy touch to your homes, and use them. because it's going to get cold, and it's going to be a very cold winter. So I think we've forgotten what cold feels like, because we were blessed, alhamdulillah, with some nice sunshine and nice hot days in the summer. So it's important that we remember that it can get cold. So yeah, make your home cozy and something appealing to yourselves as well, so that you feel more relaxed. But decluttering is one of the big ones. I declutter in the summer and I declutter in the winter. I think we've got to have checkpoints throughout the year where you are decluttering, and enough is enough when you've just got too much. So donate to charity, or, you know, just get rid of things that are just falling apart and you're, one day I will fix them. That one day is probably not happening. So just be quite crude with yourselves, and get rid of things that you just don't need. Now, I just want to point out, it's important to keep a track of your mood and any changes in your symptoms. So keeping something like a journal where you're jotting down mood swings, any patterns in your mood. This can help identify any triggers that could be causing you to feel in a certain way, and help you avoid things or improve your surroundings. So note that if you are finding any of these symptoms you are struggling with, and they're a bit more consistent or persistent, or are getting worse, always seek medical professional advice. Now, everything that I have shared with you this morning are practical tips that may work for some but not everyone. So they can affect everyone in different ways, and the winter blues can affect everyone in different ways. So it's a case of trial and error, trying out things that may work for us and may not work for us, and just minimizing the impact of the winter blues of SAD. So try and do things where you are not being exposed to any of these. And so for anyone that, again, is having any persistent or severe symptoms, do consult a healthcare professional for more tailored guidance and treatment. Now, I hope you found all these tips and suggestions to be useful, inshallah. I have shared my points with you, and I did welcome any listeners to share any tips or things that they try over the winter times to keep themselves going and to keep themselves a bit more above board and a bit more happy during this time, because it can get quite difficult with the darker days. And so the key thing is to just stay on top of things and be happy, and try to engage in those points that I've raised. And as I said, social interaction, being with friends, like-minded friends, the release of the endorphins, having a good laugh, it's important. These are all good and healthy attitudes to have. And my quote for today is, happiness can be found even in the darkest of times, if one only remembers to turn on the light. Now, I did also have a quote that I wanted to share with listeners. Now, this was sent to me by my son. So he is a huge MMA fan, and this is by Islam Makashev, and he's advising something to parents, which I felt the need to share as well, because I think he's really hit the nail on the head, and I think this is really important for us to take on board as parents. So he said, I'd like to give advice to parents to keep their children occupied with something, because childhood is a period of life when a child develops, and he should be constantly busy with training, studying, sports, and other things. Everything should be done in due time, and the child should be doing something. So don't give him a lot of free time. If you don't occupy him with something useful, then the phone or the street will occupy him with something harmful. This is a very difficult time for the younger generation, and parents should pay more attention to their children. So I don't think I could have said it in any better way there to the listeners. I just felt this was important to read out and share with you all this morning, because yes, if we don't keep our children occupied and busy and doing things and engaging in things, because often as parents we feel quite guilty that, they've just had a busy day at school and now let them just come home and let them have a game on the phone, let them just do this. You don't know what can of worms you're opening up when you do that. So it's really important that we have open discussions with our children and we do keep them busy, because children have a lot of energy. And so we need to try and use this energy and channel it into things that are much more beneficial. Now, I was one of those parents that used to feel extremely guilty about doing any sports activity or any out of school activity during the week, because I felt like they had school the next day. They've just had a busy day at school for 6 hours and now they're going to come home and disappear again for an hour or so and do something. Don't feel guilty. They need it. They have the energy. They're much more energized than we are. When we were young, we had equally as much energy. So we need to try and engage our children in activities, get them to take part in sports. And there's so many sports out there that are on competition levels. So it's giving children that discipline. It's giving them that level of competition. I need to be above board, controlling themselves a little bit as well. So there's some sports that children do and it's self-discipline. It's, I'm not going to let myself go and get angry at this situation. So there's a lot of learning from a lot of sports that we need to get our children to be exposed to and have that competition of winning and losing and trying and not succeeding, trying and succeeding. So there's so many things that they learn from sports. So don't feel guilty. They have the energy and it's not going to overexhaust them. They can do it, and we should be looking at getting our children to engage in sports. And again, if there's things that they can't, you can't physically take them to sports activities, time constraints or traffic or where you live or whatever it is, there's a resource full of things available online for children to engage in. Get them to learn a new language, get them to learn your own language. You'd be surprised how well they can pick up your own language at a young age. And I think it's very research has shown that those children that have grown up in a bilingual family where they are speaking English and their own home language or another language, they actually tend to have more intellect and they can learn things very quickly. So it's a good experience for them. Again, learning another language, learning your own language, having that exposure and teaching them, because it's giving them the skills to be able to multitask and learn more than one thing at one go. So it's important that we do that. So again, if it's not a sports activity they can engage in, then they can do that, learning a language, recap their school day, go through their school day, make sure they're on top of their schoolwork, get their reading done. There's a bank of things that we can engage our children in. But my advice would be the most important thing is to have conversation with them. Children have lots of questions about things that are going on in the world, questions about where we stand. Children have questions about what's going on and how we should react to things. And it's important that we have that open conversation and that platform with our children and let them speak and hear them out. Because again, if we don't, they will use other means like the internet to find out questions, inquisitive questions, and we don't want them going out and being exposed to the wrong information. So as parents, if it's something that your child's asking that you don't know, then it's something that you can control and look up together. And because we're a bit more wiser, we can navigate the internet a lot better than they can. So it's important that we always give them that education that they need to come to us first and ask us these questions, and anything that they're finding difficult we can help them with, rather than them trying to take matters into their own hands and doing research and being exposed to things that we've tried to block them away from. So it's really important that we have that open conversation at home. Now, listeners, I have only a couple of minutes left to the show. I hope everyone has enjoyed the points that I've shared and they found them beneficial. And I hope I have not offended anyone in any way with any of the points that I have shared or any of the advice that I have offered. Please note these are all points that I have made from personal experiences or friends that have shared these with me. And I hope I have not offended anyone, and I'm hoping people have benefited from what I have shared with you this morning, and that you are able to apply some of these during the winter months. So yes, I hope that I do have time to take in any questions. So if there is any questions that people have or wanted to share with me this morning, I can take it on the studio number 07779 481822, and that's WhatsApp or text messages. Any of those messages can be shared with me this morning. I did share my quote with you this morning, which I'm not sure I read out very well. So just before this show ends, I just wanted to share the quote again, which is, happiness can be found even in the darkest of times if one only remembers to turn the light on. I think that's taken from a Harry Potter quote. So anyone that is a Harry Potter fan, I'm sure, I hope I've given that quote justice, because I think that was a Harry Potter quote that I've shared with you this morning. Now, I wanted to end the show with a small nasheed just to kick off the last couple of minutes. So I will try and work out how to get this nasheed started. I'm just going to get some help to play these nasheeds. But everyone, I hope you've enjoyed the show. I've actually got only a minute left of the show, so I'm not sure I can actually play any nasheeds to end the show. So listeners, thank you for your time this morning. I hope that you have found those points of benefit, and that we can all cope with the winter blues or sad a little bit better, and hopefully turn sad into a happy face and cope through the winter months a bit better and keep ourselves charged, hydrated and eating well. And again, make the most, and this is a point to myself, make the most of the shorter days by fasting. And you can do alternate days, and you don't have to fast every day, but alternate day fasting, and you'll see that shift in your mood changing as well. So we can also do that. But I hope everyone has found the show of benefit and has enjoyed today's show. I wish everyone a blessed Friday and Jummah Mubarak. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. Why not tune in to our live stream at inspirefm.org and follow and subscribe to our social media platforms at Inspire FM Luton.